All right, everyone. Welcome back to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. So this is for September 11th through the 17th of 2017. And of course, this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, you definitely want to check the link down below. We're using the actual size of the constellations here, which puts the signs different than mainstream astrology. All right, so yeah, quite an active week, everyone. Astrologically speaking, that is. We're coming into the week in the third quarter phase, which is usually a bit of an active time. The full moon, though, was very watery. Last week was very watery with all that energy in Pisces and with Neptune and all that. So we could certainly be feeling a shift, probably from last weekend, actually, of coming into this week just with maybe a little bit more clarity, maybe a bit more energy, and that kind of thing. But as we go through the rest of the week, especially as we get into the weekend of this week, the energies start to die down a bit. Not in the same way it was last week, but we're at the ending phase of the lunar cycle. So we'll be in the balsamic phase. Really good for listening, getting some rest, relaxation, developing our easygoingness, acceptance of things in life, and just kind of reflecting on the previous month, basically. And that'll help us gear up for what will be a new beginning, a new moon next week. All right, so with that sort of general theme of the week, we do have a healthy mix of easy and challenging aspects, probably more so easy than challenging. But coming into the week, we have the moon in Taurus, so we'll probably be feeling quite grounded, good for enjoying things, being grateful for what we have in life, particularly with the material realm. You know, connect there, enjoy that, and be grateful for that as well, especially because Venus is going to be trining up to Saturn. So there's a good stability. We could be enjoying things very groundedly. Just feeling perhaps quite responsible, actually, with things like finances, and enjoyments can be moderate. And even in our relationships, there is this stabilizing energy. So really good for just feeling that and connecting with relationships in that grounded sort of way. And we do have a lot of aspects with Venus this week, which will, as you can see, she's sort of making aspects throughout the whole week. So I think it could be a week generally pertaining to relationships, and in this case, coming into it with that stability there. All right, then as we get to about midweek here, Wednesday, Thursday time, we have the challenging aspect of the week. The sun will be squaring up to Saturn. It's nothing new. This was actually part of the full moon we had last week. And so, but it's kind of about this integration. So these 2 days in particular, may be good just to see the big picture, right? Saturn helps us do that. There might be a bit of a collective challenge to do that, but if we're willing to be patient, see the big picture, take things slow, it's about long-term values, long-term enjoyments versus immediate gratification or things we want right now. If we're willing to see the big picture, be patient, it can be a very constructive energy. In fact, usually with this kind of aspect, it is really good to channel this into maybe productive things or anything that does require hard work and that sort of grounded energy of Saturn. And it could be a bit of a communicative time of the week as well. The moon will be shifting into Gemini here around Wednesday, Thursday time. So good for sharing of ideas, learning, just being open-minded. And again, I think just willing to take things slow with whatever it is we're focused on, with that sun squaring up to Saturn there. And as a backdrop to the week, it's not a major thing, and I don't always talk about these, but just so you know, as a backdrop, Jupiter will be sextiling up to the North Node. We don't feel this personally, but if you do notice your life, there may actually be some insights about your life path this week. And if you want to go further with it, I do recommend seeing where the North Node is in your birth chart. There's a birth chart calculator down below. Do check that out if you don't know where the North Node is, because there might be some insights about that pertaining to you this week. Maybe opening your horizons a bit about what your purpose is in life, your life path. And that kind of perspective can actually be a very good use of the energies this week. All right, so midweek, moon in Gemini, communicative. Then as we get into about Friday, the energies kind of ease up off of that challenging aspect, maybe limitation, patience, persistence, that heavier energy with Saturn. But then as we get into, Friday here, Venus starts to sextile up to Jupiter. Venus goes over the North Node, in fact. So It's not a major thing here. Even with the sextiles, it's just kind of minor, but I think there is this sort of feeling a bit open, and it could be with those relationships again. All right, so really good for enjoying a bit of open-mindedness, maybe a bit of adventurousness in your life. Probably open-minded about relationships and your values, and maybe just an opportunity, an opportunity to connect with the things we enjoy in life and the people we enjoy in life, or just connecting with others in general. So along with that, Venus over the North Node could suggest that there is this new beginning collectively about some sort of understanding about relationships, or some sort of understanding about what we value and who we value in life. So again, with the North Node, not major, but as an undercurrent, if you do notice anything that you're thinking about or learning about pertaining to relationships or your values, it could certainly be involving this. All right, so yeah, some lighter energy there. And then the moon does go into Cancer as we get into the later part of Friday here. So as we get into Friday, Saturday, really good for maybe spending some time at home or with family, maybe getting in touch with your body through your health, reflecting on the past a bit. It could be a bit of a reflective time, but I think it's, again, that's the sort of energy we want to do anyways. We'll be in the ending phase of this cycle, which is great for reflection in general, and that sort of more easygoing, alone time, private time, that kind of thing. All right, but with that being said, a bit of mixed energy here. Mercury and Mars will go over the, what is this now? The third conjunction that we've had because Mercury went retrograde over Mars. So this is a very active energy with our minds. It's very active energy with learning and communication as well. We could be very direct with our communication, to the point, thinking to the point, right? So even though the backdrop is this more, I think, watery type of energy for the weekend, it's more receptive energy. I think there is this spirit behind what we're thinking, what we're communicating. I think it's really good to invoke that within us, right? Good to channel this into maybe writing, tangible things, maybe doing some reading, communicating, sharing with others. Again, there's all this relationship energy this week. And I think a lot of this is about learning more about ourselves. In fact, when we had the Mercury retrograde over Mars 2 weeks ago from this time of this part of the week, there was a lot we were thinking about in terms of what is our personal needs? What are our personal needs? Who are we? What do we want in life? What are our desires? And so this is sort of getting reactivated. And so at that time, we were rethinking it, whereas here we could be applying it. All right, so really good weekend for applying this sort of perspective about who we are and what we want, and channeling that into, I think, constructive ways with Mercury. Again, reading, writing, tangible things there can be great. All right, and then as we get into Sunday, then the moon does go into Leo, which is that balsamic energy, right? So this was the location of the last solar cycle, which was in Leo, that solar eclipse in Leo. So the moon comes here. So Leo's typically, and where we still have a lot of energy, in fact, about self-expression. And I think that's still going to be a backdrop, as it's sort of already been. This theme pertaining to self-expression, creativity, learning more about what we're passionate about, what we enjoy in life, what sparks that inner flame. But when the moon's here, yeah, I think it's reflecting on what we've perhaps learned or experienced the past 30 days pertaining to that. Not so much mental. Again, this is more of a spiritual energy, but intuiting it, listening to it, and tapping into a bit of that creative, self-expressive, playful energy of Leo can be excellent going into next week from Sunday onward. And especially with Venus trining up to Uranus, right? This can be spontaneity, again, in relationships, or with enjoying things in a bit of a different, unorthodox sort of way. Mixing up that routine can be very enjoyable. And I think just feeling free in general and enjoying and seeing the value of freedom in life. All right, and I do want to mention also that the sun will be shifting into Virgo this weekend, going into next week. It's usually a subtle energy where the planet has to transition between signs, but we'll likely start to feel Saturday, Sunday probably, more of the shift towards the Virgo energy, which is more about the grounded stuff of like perfection, focusing on the details of things, solving problems, finding solutions. Our minds, or just our perspective, will be more geared towards that. It'll still be lots of Leo. I still think that's the case. We got Mercury, Mars, and Venus here. Again, playfulness, creativity, understanding more about what we're passionate about in life and cultivating that. But yeah, just more of a focus towards how we can improve things. All right, focusing on the details of things. And that'll be a really good energy to work with as we go into the next couple months. All right, so that's the week for the general reading. Of course, at this time, you can go down to the comment section, click the time next to your signs, dates there. I do recommend watching this for your sun sign, but also your ascendant and moon sign. So if you don't know what those are, do check the calculator as well for that. But yeah, watch all three for a more holistic perspective. Yeah, we'll see you on the other side. All right, Aries, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at your ruler just as a backdrop. You got Mars in your 5th house of self-expression, creativity, a lot like I was saying in that general. It really is the theme for that. So still great to be putting your motivation drives into what sparks that inner flame. Continue to learn about all that with Mercury still coming out of his shadow there in your 5th house. And yeah, and as we get into the rest of the week, sort of reflecting on what you've been developing and learning about these inner flames, passions, whatever's close to your heart here. Now, in terms of the aspects, around Tuesday, we have that Venus trining up to Saturn, so there is certainly that stability in your relationships. I think it's generally a really good time to be expressing yourself with your relationships, actually. And again, tapping into a bit of that creative spirit there, playful spirit. And it's just very stabilizing coming into the week with that. Also, too, perhaps with your finances or anything involving investments, savings, things like that. I think you got a good grounded perspective on that coming into the week. Now, Wednesday through Thursday, midweek here, we have the Sun then squaring up to Saturn. So there could be, like I was saying in the general, a bit of a limitation, and it could be with your self-expression. So even though there's all this energy you're cultivating with this, just remembering the big picture, being patient with your self-expression and anything else, again, that you've been focused on in this area. It's all about integration with Saturn. Saturn helps us see the big picture so that, you know, we can build these things for the long term. That's not just about our immediate satisfaction and gratification. It's about the truth, especially with Saturn in your 8th house, the truth, the stability, what matters most, and building solid foundations. So I think with that perspective, can be a great way of integrating that Sun square Saturn energy. Now, as we get into about Friday, Venus sextiles Jupiter. So you'll get this bit of light, you know, again, this sort of supportive energy to your relationships and maybe with your values, maybe finances, but just being open-minded there. I think it's great to generally expand your horizons with your relationships around this time. Being open-minded will probably come quite naturally. And maybe, yeah, anything that's out of your comfort zone, just kind of expanding a bit, doing something that's a bit different, or some things you find enjoyable, could be an opportunity to do that. And this is about the same time that the Sun slowly does start to shift into your 6th house. So this is all kind of a reminder too with Jupiter that this whole opportunity for this past year really has been for you to connect with your routine or your work, your day-to-day activities, and even develop your self-improvement. So you get a lot of support for this week, and you could start to notice this shift going into the weekend. towards, your work, your routine, organizing things, fixing things, anything you do on that daily level could be the focus of your attention for about the next couple months moving forward, even though there still is a lot of this, again, expressive energy for you. So over the weekend on Saturday, this is where Mercury goes over Mars in your 5th. So again, very direct with your self-expression, could be with communication. You could be learning some things about yourself, especially since Mars is your ruler, very much about your identity and what matters most. Again, Mars does rule your 8th house as well. So this has all been reflected on, as I said, about 2 weeks ago from this point of this weekend, of this week. And so now there's this sort of integration where you're actually applying and putting forward this whole concept of, who you are, what you want, pertaining to that self-expression, what you're passionate about, what you enjoy in the 5th house. So cultivating that, expressing that, learning about it are all excellent things with this conjunction here. And you'll probably just find that you're more mental too, again, really good for reading, writing, communication. You'll have more of that Mercury energy with Mercury conjunct your ruler. All right, so that's the week generally. It is, this ending phase of this last cycle, this reflection about this whole self-expression, but it's still very much activated. Venus, Mars, Mercury, all in the 5th house. The things you're passionate about, whatever it is for you personally. So still great to be cultivating that though, listening to it, and then gearing up as we go into next week for a new beginning, which will have more to do with your work and routine, day-to-day stuff, which has been the area of expansion for you with Jupiter there. All right, Aries, so have a fantastic week. Thank you for all of your likes, comments, and shares with these videos. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them, and wishing you the very best week. Take care. All right, Taurus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So your ruler Venus is forming some nice aspects this week, trining Saturn coming into the week, sextiling Jupiter midweek, and then finishing the week off trining Uranus. So this is all in the concentration of your 4th house at this time. A lot of things pertaining to your health at this time could be the focus continuing this week, but also enjoying your private life, home life, maybe reflecting on the past, learning about the past, learning more about what your intrinsic values really are, and about yourself emotionally as well, and where you can have this more soul connection with life and with what you do. So anyways, with all this 4th house stuff, really good for spending time at home, family, getting in good health, and you got some good supportive aspects for these things this week. Tuesday, the trine up from Saturn gives you stability here, groundedness. You're just feeling grounded in general, more than likely, since Venus is your ruler. So yeah, around Tuesday time, maybe good for productive things, or maybe if you feel like, whatever you want to do that requires a bit of that patience and discipline or hard work, maybe pertaining to relationships actually. You do have Saturn in your 7th house. But whatever it is, you got this grounded energy going for you. And it really is good for, I think, your routine as well. Your routine could be very stabilizing. Also your work life coming into this week. Now, we do have that challenging aspect with the sun squaring up to Saturn midweek between Wednesday and Thursday. So if you're feeling any restrictions, again, as I was saying in the general, just kind of being as patient as we can with this. This happens twice a year. And we have some major challenging thing with Saturn, so to speak, about 4 times a year with the sun. So it's nothing, out of the ordinary here, but, and it was also part of that last full moon. But yeah, just taking things slow, and it could be pertaining to, again, those relationships. This has been an area of patience and persistence for you, seeing the big picture with it. And also too with that home stuff, because the sun does rule your 4th house. So anything pertaining to home or health, good to take that slow and steady, grounded approach with, patient approach. Not take things too seriously there either, but see the reality of something, work on it, develop it, and then by around Friday, you'll probably notice that energy easing up quite a bit there. All right, and then Friday, then your ruler then sextiles Jupiter. So not a major thing, but you do have this sort of openness about you and probably to express yourself. Jupiter in your 5th house has been helping you have more fun. There's at least an opportunity to go out, have some fun, do some things you're passionate about, hobbies, interests, whatever it is. And there could just be an opening for that with the sextile. And also, too, again, just feeling that way, good for adventurousness, philosophy, higher learning, expanding your mind, possibilities, and maybe with that routine as well. Just feeling a bit open there, maybe learning something about it, something like that. Now, this is the same time that Venus does go over your North Node. So there is this new beginning, I think, to understanding more about how your life path pertains to you, and you could very well be about around this Friday time, learning more about who you are and what you want in life. And it could be pertaining, again, to these roots. Home, family, or health matters are often the case with the 4th house. But anything pertaining to your roots, past, reflection, integrating that with your life path. So could be a new beginning, could be a shift, and anything you do learn about yourself around Friday could be great to continue to cultivate for the next year here. All right, so this is about the same time the sun starts to go into your 5th house of self-expression. This is giving you a bit of a glimpse of what that new moon will be next week. It's pertaining to everything you're passionate about in life, where Jupiter has already been expanding. So what you find close to your heart will be the focus for about the next 2 months here. And again, having a bit of fun, creativity, playfulness in your life, expressing yourself, I think are great ways to start to focus your attention going into next week. Now, this weekend, we do have Mercury over Mars. So again, from 2 weeks ago, if there's anything you're reflecting on pertaining to your home, your health, pertaining to yourself in general, maybe relationships, it's been involving a lot of key areas. But fundamentally, I think this weekend, there is this new shift of understanding more about relationships, more about home or your health, and maybe even quite direct and motivated to, again, express yourself. In fact, could be a very good weekend for that. Having some fun, playfulness, creativity, could even be motivated towards income or finances, that type of thing. So anything pertaining to those areas, this is about motivation, it's about drive, and it's also about learning with Mercury, sort of combining that energy, learning about these things, and then taking action, because it really is through action that we do learn the most. Then Sunday, Venus, your ruler, trines up to Uranus, finishing off the week. This will be that reflective ending of the week, as I was saying, in the ending cycle of this whole solar cycle. But Venus trining Uranus going into Monday, you could be feeling quite free-spirited, like being yourself, maybe connecting with some friends, doing some group things perhaps with Uranus in that 11th house. Maybe mixing up the routine, trying new and different things, being spontaneous. All that is just really good energy to work with going into Monday. All right, Taurus, so I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please like and share it with your friends and family. It's very much appreciated. But wishing you the very best week, and I will see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Gemini, welcome to your weekly forecast. So as a recap, there's still a lot of this concentration of energy in your 3rd house. This is the house of learning. It's the house of practical things like practical knowledge. It's the house of business and trade. And it's also the house of communication. It's your house. All right, so everything you know about Gemini pertains to this house. More of the what here, those things that pertain to Gemini. So whatever you've been doing here from this last cycle, I think the energy is certainly still here with Mercury, your ruler, in your 3rd house, and developing it. You know, we're coming into this week in the 3rd quarter phase, taking some action steps, coming into the week towards whatever this practical, mental, or communicative stuff is that you're involved with, really good to take those action steps towards. Now, with the aspects this week, Venus trining up to Saturn coming into the week, Tuesday time period. There's this stabilizing force. I think you're probably feeling quite grounded with your self-expression and probably quite grounded with your easygoingness. Maybe you're getting some alone time or meditating or something like that. That's a very good stabilizing force for you. And again, it's also stabilizing your communication, your mind. And this is a Saturn who's been in your 6th house, so it could be pertaining to your routine. I think it's still great. You'll probably find there's a good stability with your routine. Day to day, whatever it is you're doing here daily, you got this stabilizing force really supporting you. Now, midweek, Wednesday through Thursday, the sun is squaring up to that Saturn. So there's that challenging aspect here where midweek, if you do feel any type of limitation, particularly to some of the stuff you're either learning about or about communication, or whatever this practical stuff is, because the sun does rule that 3rd house of yours. Just being patient, seeing the big picture. Again, be patient with the routine or the work stuff that you've been grounding, taking seriously, one step at a time. That's been Saturn. He's going to be finishing up the 6th house over the next couple months, and then you'll be off to putting in some of that seriousness into relationships. But up until then, still good to be finishing up your routine, your work, whatever it is you're doing on that day-to-day level, and this square can help you do that. It's good to challenge ourselves here with this, be patient with it, and see the big picture. Now, around Friday, Venus then sextiles up to Jupiter. So this is a reminder that, there is this opportunity to really be enjoying your home or your family or your health life at this time. So there's not a major thing with this, but an opening here to maybe connect on this level. Again, it's a really good week for your self-expression and easygoingness, so there's positive support for that. But around this time, going into about Saturday, the sun starts to shift into that 4th, which is giving you a bit of a glimpse of what this next new moon is going to be next week. Some sort of new beginning for you in terms of your home, some of you your location, some of you pertaining to family, and others with your health. New beginning there with that. So you get a bit of a glimpse this weekend. I think it's just great to start to focus on this more personal stuff in life. And I think you'll find that's a very good source of your energy, actually, moving forward. Now, your energy levels are kind of dying down from a yearly sense with the planets, especially Mars and the Sun at the bottom of your chart. But it's so you can channel them into more personal things moving forward. All right, and then Saturday, very important, Mars goes over your ruler Mercury, so you could be feeling quite direct, quite to the point this weekend, maybe even quite open and vulnerable and deep, which is Mars. But generally, it could be this stuff that you've been maybe rethinking. Mercury, your ruler, was retrograde not too long ago, just last week and for the previous weeks before that. And he's still in his shadow. So you're really integrating and putting forward, I think, a lot of the stuff you've been learning and whatever this practical stuff is. So it's an excellent weekend for that because I think you'll have the drive, motivation. You get this new beginning with maybe your confidence. And again, direct there, putting some energy into whatever this mental communicative stuff is just excellent. And again, with your routine as well, and maybe even too with connecting with some friends or feeling quite inspired actually with Mars ruling your 6th and your 11th house. And you could even find you're motivated towards your home and family life matters, or 4th house stuff with the sun shifting in there, but Mercury also does rule that 4th house of yours as well. All right, and so that's pretty much the week, and the week does end with that Venus trining up to Uranus going into Monday. And so again, positive energy here with the self-expression, fun. Could be a fun week for you, or maybe you're just getting creative, maybe you're just expressing yourself. And again, I think it's pertaining to more of this practical stuff. But yeah, spontaneity, mixing things up, maybe going into next week, seeing where you can have that freedom with your career and just feeling a bit of that freedom with your career as well. All right, so Gemini, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. All right, Cancers, welcome to your weekly forecast. So your ruler, the moon, is going to be in the third quarter phase coming into this week. It's not as challenging, the squares, which is the quarters, where the sun and moon square each other. The third quarter is not as challenging as like the first quarter. The third quarter is like we're willing to put in work. We're willing to take some actions. And I think that's a really good way of coming into the week. I think you'll be already doing that, willing to do the work, whatever it is, take action steps. And really good for that active energy, patient energy, disciplined energy. And there's a lot of support with that for all of us because Saturn will be trining up to Venus coming into the week on Tuesday. And this is stabilizing this second house of resources for you. This has been the area of emphasis already, was the area of this last lunar cycle. But you have all these planets still very much in this second house. So this is about your resources. I think it's still great if you've been learning about your resources. This is your inner resources, such as your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance, standing on your own 2 feet to pursue your values, learning more about what you value in life, and even externally as well, getting into the development of your income or investments and savings and all of this. Just really good energy to cultivate this area. And so there's the stabilizing force with that, with Saturn helping ground this area, which is good, stabilizing it. It is an earth house as well, like finances, you have that grounded, disciplined energy about it. And just being grateful for what you have and enjoying what you have in life can be stabilizing as well. Now, Venus does also rule your 4th house and your 11th house. So stabilizing maybe with home or health coming into the week. And also possibly with group things or just feeling aspired, like your aspirations are just grounded coming into the week. Now midweek, that sun then squares up to Saturn, so there is that challenging energy. So the matters pertaining to your finances or resources or, again, that sense of self-worth, these 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday, just being patient with it. Again, as I said, there's a lot of positive energy in this area, but with the square to Saturn, sometimes we're not willing to be patient. We're not willing to see the big picture. We're feeling blocked, limited for whatever reason. So as best as we can, just taking that slow and steady, responsible approach, big picture approach to those matters, I think is a fantastic way of working with this. Also, in terms of your self-expression, the past couple of years, Saturn's been helping you, cultivate the things you really enjoy in life and passionate about in life, but for the long term. Right, so it's about long-term passions, long-term enjoyments versus the more immediate thing there with Saturn. And that could have to do this week with maybe your self-expression, the things you enjoy, just kind of taking time. Now, around Friday, Venus then sextiles Jupiter. So again, that positive energy into the second, though. It's not major, but it's an opening. You could be quite open-minded, maybe learning something new there with the resources. And also, too, with your home, perhaps, or with friends or your aspirations. And so it's just an opening with those same key areas. And I think with Jupiter in your 3rd, it's also a reminder that for the past year, it's just been excellent for you to be really getting into the practical stuff in life, whether you're reading or writing or communicating. Whatever's practical in your life really does have that buoyant energy about it. In fact, a lot of you could be quite buoyant with your thinking and your perspective, which is a great way of working with Jupiter in the 3rd. But really just seeing the opportunity to learn. And the importance of learning and the importance of communication and the mind and these practical things in life is what Jupiter's helping you develop there. And that's also going to be the area where the sun's going to shift going into this weekend and where the new moon will be next week pertaining to these practical matters. Mind, communication, practical things. So your focus will be shifting here. You might be focused more on wanting to learn, more on wanting to share. Business and trade for some of you, connecting with your peers, siblings, all this stuff is pertaining to the 3rd. And so whatever it is, it's giving you a bit of a prelude to what the new moon is, what the new beginning will be next week in this area. Because next week there will likely be this whole new shift of your perspective and maybe a lot of you starting something new involving reading, writing, courses, connecting with your peers, your community, business, trade. Again, all of this practical stuff, whatever it is for you personally. All right, and then Saturday, Mercury does go over Mars in the 2nd. So again, this is emphasizing resources for you. There's something you could be motivated towards learning about. It's also giving you a lot of motivation to express yourself through communication. You could be very direct with your communication, feeling resourceful, feeling that sense of self-worth and value. So channeling that is great. And also a lot of you could be learning about your career, in fact. Maybe something that shifts there with your perspective with your career. And then the week does end with Venus trining up to Uranus. Again, easy aspects with Venus. She rules your home, health sector. Maybe something spontaneous there, something new and different. And also with friends, your 11th house possibly, or feeling inspired. And I think you're just feeling a bit adventurous or open-minded going into Monday with Uranus in that 9th. Now, mind you, it's still the ending phase of this cycle, so it particularly pertains to you because your ruler is the moon. So with this spiritual phase, this ending phase of this cycle, so the energies are lower, it's more internal, but still going into the week, maybe something new and different and exciting to expand your horizons, see possibilities, open-mindedness is very nice. All right, so Cancer, have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Leo, welcome to your weekly forecast. So lots of concentration of energy in your first house, the house of self, the house of spirit, the house of learning more about who we are and what we want in life. So there's this whole new chapter that started with this during this last, depending on when you're watching, this last 3 weeks, 30 days. That last cycle that started with that solar eclipse in your sign. So really good here to continue to learn about yourself, take action, connect here, connect with relationships could be emphasized, learning, practical things emphasized, just all these areas with all these planets. And even your ruler is still going to be in your first house up until around Friday, Saturday. Just really shine that light and focus on yourself. And so all this stuff you're learning, it is about taking action, of course. So, that's what the first house is learning through action. Taking those first steps and the importance of initiation and drive towards cultivating those things that we want in life. So coming into the week, Venus is trining Saturn from that first house, which is good. You have this stabilizing energy. You could be feeling quite stable with your career actually coming into the week, maybe too with your communication. And it's all because I think over the past couple of years, you've been working hard or being patient, disciplined with your home life and or your health life. And so to a degree, it's kind of paying off in that sense. Although midweek, you do have your ruler, the sun, squaring up to Saturn. So around Wednesday, Thursday, a little later in the week, Wednesday, Thursday time, if you're feeling blocked, if you're feeling restricted, it's this reminder of Saturn that's saying, look, there's still work to be done, as there always is, or that things take time and we just have to be patient with the results. And again, it could be pertaining to yourself, your goals, where you're headed, but also too with this whole home sector and or health sector. All right, home and health are the common things of the fourth house. So patience there, discipline, big picture, take things slow. And then I think by about after Thursday, by about Friday, that eases up, Saturn eases up off of your ruler. And it's going to affect your sign the most because again, it's your ruler, but just integrating this patience, but it eases up. And then you'll probably notice around Friday, this bit of free-spiritedness and just not as restricted or limited. But again, just like you want to challenge yourself during these squares and be the agent of change and take the steps and the actions towards cultivating whatever, again, these personal things are or these things pertaining to yourself are. But yeah, Friday, Venus sextiles Jupiter, more easy aspects there with Venus. Maybe you're thinking big with your career or potentials with your career, your productive life. Communications might be flowing. You got some good positive support for that. And and then again with yourself, you could be feeling good, looking good actually with Venus and such good aspects in your first house there. And this is about the same time, Friday, Saturday, when the sun shifts into your second house, which is giving you now a prelude of what this new moon will be next week, and it's pertaining to your values and also to resources. Okay, so this is, this whole area of like resources, which includes income, finances, investments, savings, but fundamentally your sense of self-worth and knowing that you have everything within to cultivate your values in life. This has been expanding for the past year. Jupiter's been in here, so you got this open mind here. So continue to see the open-minded potentials with these resources, inner and outer. It's just fantastic, and I think you'll notice a focus shift with your ruler going into the second this weekend. Starting to focus more in terms of what you value and focus more on your income, investments, savings, things like that can help you have more material security in your life. But again, the real security comes from that sense of self-worth. You're connecting to your natural gifts, your natural abilities, and knowing that you have everything you need to attain your true values in life and tapping into those resources. But give it some time. It'll be, like I said, next week, the actual new moon here, but your focus could shift there this weekend. Saturday, Mercury does go over Mars, so there is this conjunction in your first house. It's involving a lot of key areas for you. You could be driven perhaps to connect with community or feeling quite inspired this weekend is certainly possible. Now, mind you, again, it's the ending phase, so the energies are a bit low, but still there's this motivating force to it. So it could be about aspirations, could even be about those finances, material things driven there. And I think you're going to be learning a lot more, as I'm sure you have been, but learning more about your home or your health stuff and maybe thinking more about that actually. And thinking also a bit bigger too, just seeing a bit of a more expansive horizon in general, in general with things in life with that conjunction. And it's another step in the right direction, I think, in terms of this whole self-awareness you're gaining with all these planets in the first house. And then the week does end going into Monday with Venus trining Uranus. So mixing things up with that working career could be nice, or again with communication or learning, practical things, really getting good aspects this week. But yeah, something different, new, spontaneous with career, practical matters. And I think just connecting to what matters most, which is what Uranus has been helping you do with Uranus in that 8th house. Really see what matters most, connecting to the truth of things. All right, so Leo, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Virgo, welcome to your weekly forecast. So lots of energy in your 12th house, the house of loss, of letting go, of surrender. And so it's a very deep house, but it's also the most rewarding house. It's the house where we find true spiritual peace in life. So although hard to go through, and it's all about our perspective, right? But as human beings, it's hard to let go and just surrender. We're living this physical experience, right? So, but there's all this concentration here. I think you've been learning a lot about this area. I think it's great to continue to learn about yourself psychologically, spiritually, and again, fundamentally, what you can let go of. What's holding you down. Maybe there's some unhealthy habits, unhealthy patterns, unhealthy thinking patterns. Whatever it is here, it is the house of letting go. It's the house of surrendering. And not only of these quote unquote negative things, because really it's nothing negative. It's just that you're becoming more aware of what is true to you, what it means to connect to your beingness and your true core and who you really are, through stripping away all of these layers and all this garbage really of the mind and of the surface and of the layers of the emotions and feelings, and really connecting to your core. That's why it's so important to do things like meditate with this, or learn about psychology, see a counselor, whatever it is that's going to help you really connect to your beingness. And surrender what's not yours and what's outside of your control, so you can enjoy life from a tranquil, peaceful, more interconnected and fundamentally joyous way of life. So it's a very spiritual house. Obviously, this is just my take on it, but essentially I think asking yourself where you can build some healthy habits and get your alone time and connect to your beingness, I think is just fantastic at this time. So with all that being said, you got positive support coming into this house with Venus in good aspect this week. Venus does rule your second house of finance and resources, and she also rules your ninth house of thinking big, your philosophy, and your larger perspective on things. So you do get this stabilizing force coming into the week with Saturn trining up to Venus. Could be stabilizing with your finances for some of you. Others maybe in terms of the larger perspective on life, philosophy, adventurousness is stabilizing. And again, stabilizing to put in some work here, so to speak, to connect to that beingness, to get your alone time, that receptive energy. And so Saturn here is just suggesting that you're seeing the big picture. You have that willingness to take things slow, which is fantastic. But with that being said, the sun is then going to square up to Saturn Wednesday, Thursday, so about the midweek time period. And, this is about us challenging ourselves, as I always say, with the squares. And so just being patient and disciplined I think you are coming into the week, but then just remembering that Wednesday through Thursday, to see the big picture, things take time. And I think it's going to be particularly pertaining to the 12th house stuff I just discussed. So things take time, be patient with it. And then I think by about Friday, that energy eases up depending on how you're feeling it. But again, you want to challenge yourself here to maybe, put some actions towards where you can find more peace in your life. And really disciplining your mind too. Saturn is in your third house, helping you see things seriously and take, see reality seriously, but in a way that's not too serious, right? That it becomes dense or heavy. It's really how to train the mind and use and observe the mind and be aware that the mind is like a tool and have mental mastery. So it's not us identifying with our minds, it's that we're using our minds as a tool from that place of presence, from awareness. 12th house is all about this awareness, and I think bringing that awareness onto the mind is just a fantastic way of working with this any Saturn energy from the third. Now, Friday, we do have not only the easing up there, but then Venus does sextile up to Jupiter. So as a minor note, there is this bit of openness here again, maybe with resources, maybe with your adventurous side. And it's a reminder, too, that it has been for the past year, roughly, just such a good time to be accessing your independence, really accessing your independent spirit, expanding your horizons. Jupiter in the first house, it's there. Even though right now is this very deep or watery time, Jupiter's in your first, and it has been really good for thinking big, opening your perspective to possibilities, and just accessing a bit of that free-spirited, buoyant energy, because you see the big picture. And the spirit for life is really what Jupiter helps us cultivate, but with receptivity, right? Because we can have both. Can be, following that spirit for life while at the same time being receptive to life as well. All right, so good energy there. And then the sun starts to go into your first house. So I think there is going to be this not as watery energy shifting for you going into this weekend. When the sun leaves the 12th, the sun has a hard time in the 12th. The sun is the fire, the life force. The 12th house is the water, the depth, the ocean. So into your first house. Happy birthday for those of you watching for your sun signs. If your birthday's this weekend or next week. But all of you should start to, at least on some level, not totally yet, so many planets still in your 12th, but on some level this weekend, start to focus a little bit more in terms of energy, drive, taking action, going into the world, that type of stuff. And focusing more on that independence, focusing more on your personal needs as well. And this is what is going to be the new moon for you next week. New beginning for your goals, for yourself, for who you are, what you want in life, your desires will be activated as we move forward here. Now, Saturday does have your ruler conjunct Mars, so there is this direct energy more than likely for you this weekend, along with that subtle shift of the sun going into the first house. This is probably learning more about how to get things done and take action in this receptive way of the 12th, with this willingness to let go and surrender. But more specifically for a lot of you, I think it'll be probably motivated towards your career or your productive life, motivated to express yourself, just being more direct in general, and learning about what matters most in the deeper dimensions. Mars does rule your 8th, and some of you could be learning about what matters most, also getting into the practical side of things. Reading, writing, communication could be emphasized. But again, I think it's all in this area of behind the scenes, right? 12th house, going within, alone time, reflection, writing maybe, this type of stuff that can be the motivating force for you this weekend. All right, and then the week does end going into Monday with Venus trining up to Uranus. So Sunday, Monday, really good for spontaneity, and I think pertaining to this receptive energy that's being developed for you. Spontaneity in relationships can be great, and also too with the income or the resources or finances, just seeing things outside the box, thinking outside the box, and being free in general, probably all of the things being considered going into next week. Because again, we will still be in this lowered energy time. We're at the ending phase of this last cycle before we start that new moon. But yeah, really good for mixing things up with that Uranus. All right, so Virgo, have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share with your friends and family. But wishing you the very best week, and I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Libra, welcome to your weekly forecast. So your ruler Venus is forming some easy aspects this week, which is nice. Of course, this is just a general reading. You'll want to look at your personal chart, but collectively, Libra, you got some positive energy here. So it's firstly coming into the week with Saturn trining up to your ruler Venus. And so you got this stabilizing force about you, more than likely, grounded, long-term, patient. And it could be pertaining to what you've been focused on lately, the past couple months really, pertaining to your aspirations. Or for some of you, friends, networks, your network circles, and others, maybe your technology, innovation, that progressive spirit, or even humanitarian spirit for some of you. All this forward, future thinking stuff has really been emphasized, and you have a lot of positive energy with that this week, starting with the Saturn, grounding it, stabilizing it, helping you see the big picture there. Now, Wednesday, Thursday, though, the Sun does square up to the Saturn trine there. So it is good to remember this. If you're feeling a bit of the, particularly these 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday, this bit of limitation with these future things, let's call them. Just be very patient, grounded, see the big picture. I think you are coming into the week, but remembering that Wednesday, Thursday is great, and not taking anything too seriously either with Saturn, and tapping into your inner resources. Saturn has been in your second house these past 2 years, really helping you tap into your natural gifts, your natural abilities, develop the patience to go about cultivating what you want in life and your values in life, and just accessing those inner reserves in this way, challenging yourself to do that, but patiently doing that is just fantastic. Then as we get into about Friday, that energy will ease up there from that square, and that's when Venus starts to sextile up to Jupiter. So there will be this sort of reminder that it's just such a good time for working behind the scenes, or getting your alone time, or meditating, or learning more about yourself psychologically or spiritually. Jupiter's been expanding your 12th house. So there's just this easygoingness, more than likely, really coming into, again, whatever this future focus is or group focus is at this time. And probably thinking just quite big in general. Venus being your ruler, just open-minded. And it's not major, but it's a nice energy to work with. And that's about the same time the sun does go into your 12th house, preluding that the next couple of months will likely be a good time for you to, get your alone time, your rest, cultivate more of your spiritual development. It's not quite there yet. Like I said, you still got all these planets, including your ruler in the 11th. But this weekend, you may start to notice the shift of, again, wanting more peace in life. So good to do that if you're guided to. It could be the source of energy for you, things like meditation, alone time, receptivity. And it's going to be the area of the new beginning, the new moon for you next week. So whatever that shift of focus is, could give you a prelude to that new beginning. Now, Saturday, Mercury does go over Mars. So there is a lot to continue to learn about these future things. And you'll likely be thinking about your values, your resources. You could be learning something new, in fact, about your resources and also relationships. There could be this communicative energy. You're thinking about them. You're learning about them. And a new beginning on some level with them in terms of your perspective. And you could be very driven and motivated towards getting more peace in your life, actually. Wanting a bit of tranquility, receptive energy. With Mercury ruling your 12th, and maybe you're feeling quite philosophical or adventurous this week and just driven there to share some of your perspective on life, motivated towards connecting that spirit for life and expanding your horizons, whether it's mentally or physically, is also getting activated. It's activating a lot of areas with that conjunction. So the week ends Sunday with your ruler trining Uranus, so you do get this bit of a free-spirited energy about you. It's, again, this ending phase of this cycle, so it is about listening with the balsamic phase, but still nonetheless going into next week. Great for spontaneity. You'll probably be mixing up the routine a bit, maybe having some changes with your work or your day-to-day routine so that you can have more freedom there. That's what Uranus has been helping you do. And you got more positive support for that. And again, very good for this progressive, innovative, or future stuff or group stuff that has been the focus for you lately. All right, so Libra, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So you have all this concentration still in your 10th house, typically the house of career, but not always for profit. Could be whatever you do productively in life. And for some of you, your public image, getting more into the public limelight with your community or whatever it is. So still the area of focus with your ruler Mars there. And you do have some positive support coming into this area this week. Firstly, on Tuesday, Saturn trining up to Venus, who's there, probably feeling grounded with the productive stuff and probably with your relationships, actually. A really good stabilizing force there. Venus does rule your 7th house. So there's this grounded, long-term patient energy and helping you maybe continue, if you haven't already been, establishing relationships at work or in your career or in this public light or whatever it is that Venus in the 10th has been helping you do. And if it's not relationship related, it could just simply be with your values. I think you're seeing the value of whatever this productive energy is, and it's stabilizing you with Saturn there. Now, that Saturn then does square up to the Sun going into Wednesday time. So Wednesday, Thursday, about midweek, just good to remember that same stuff maybe coming into the week you had, about patience, because the Sun does rule the 10th house of career for you. So Wednesday, Thursday time, really good for being patient with it, seeing the big picture, limiting yourself, right? As I always say with the squares, it's good to challenge ourselves. So what can you do to limit yourself for the long term? The patient, discipline, big picture stuff pertaining to your career, pertaining to the things you want in life with Saturn in your first and your goals. And I think from that perspective, It helps get you on the right side of the square, helps you grounded, integrated, and it can be long lasting because that's what Saturn's helping us do. Develop the area, in this case, your productive life, in a way that's for the long term. Patient, grounded, doing the hard work, so to speak, to get there. Venus then sextiles up to Jupiter after that. So about Friday, not only will this energy with Saturn lift up a bit, but Venus does then form another easy aspect. And this is a reminder that I think it's really good to be either networking, connecting with friends at this time, or if it's not community-based, maybe it's just continue to think forward, right? This is the 11th house of the future. Your future hopes, wishes, aspirations. It's not a major thing, but there's this opening with it. And I think it's just a great time to be forward thinking. And you could be learning some things about that, in fact, with Jupiter. All right, and this is about the same time on Friday that the sun shifts into your 11th. So this is giving you a prelude of what will be the new beginning next week with the new moon, pertaining to the 11th house. Again, future stuff for you, but also networks, groups, community, even technology, innovation, progressiveness is all the areas associated with it, whatever it might be for you. I think there will be a new beginning with that area next week, and with your focus shifting here this weekend, could give you a prelude to that. So this weekend on Saturday, Mercury goes over your ruler, so you'll likely be feeling quite communicative or practical, learning, mental energy. Again, you could be learning about the career, the productive life, learning more about you, in fact, and what you're about. And maybe even too about your routine, actually, in your work. Could be thinking about that, learning about that. And you're likely very direct. Again, probably with those aspirations. There's a motivating force. There's a driving force about the future, groups or community stuff. And if you do feel that, it is an excellent week, I think, to cultivate that. As I say, with the sun going into the 11th, cultivating what is setting the stage for a new beginning there, future stuff, group stuff, but also to just learning about it, motivating yourself towards it, and really how you can integrate all this forward-thinking stuff with the current career foundations that you've been focused on and developing with that 10th house energy. All right, and then the weekends, Venus trining up to Uranus, going into Monday of next week. We will be in the ending phase of this cycle, so there is a lowered energy, good for reflection, again, probably pertaining to the career stuff. But yeah, going into Monday, probably feeling a bit free-spirited with relationships, really good for spontaneity there, individuality, mixing things up, expressing yourself actually with Uranus in the 5th. That type of stuff, and maybe even getting some, again, new insights, intuitive insights about whatever this productive area is, and mixing things up there, having some freedom there perhaps, going into next week as well. All right, so Scorpio and Ophiuchus, I hope you have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So you have all this concentration in your 9th house, your house of the spirit for life, your life purpose, higher learning, travel for some of you, whatever expands your horizons. I think that'll continue to be the emphasis this week. And you do have some supportive energy here. You got Saturn trining up to Venus, who's there. So yeah, you got stabilizing energy, long-term patience when it comes to this this spirited area of life. And you'll likely also find too that there's this groundedness with your routine, stability with your routine or your work life, and also maybe even too with your friends or your network circles for some of you coming into the week. Now with that being said though, Wednesday, Thursday, midweek, the sun then does square up to Saturn. So remembering that Wednesday through Thursday in terms of this patience with whatever this expansive stuff is. For all of you, it'll be different, but whatever this ninth house stuff is for you, involving this expansion of your horizons, really good to be patient with it. See the long term. This is Saturn helping you really develop healthier habits or get your alone time, have healthier spiritual life. So remembering that too and putting in that work there. You know, Saturn's going to be finishing up this 12th house of yours for the next 2 to 3 months, I believe. Yeah. So you're finishing up whatever this hard work is with healthy habits, with developing good spiritual peace, alone time, grounded energy. They're doing the work there. And just remembering that Wednesday, Thursday is just a fantastic way of implementing this square, you know, being the agent of change where you're the one actively participating in that role of finding healthy peace and tranquility in your life. And again, being patient with whatever that ninth house stuff is. Big picture. Saturn helps us do things for the long term versus just the short term gratification. So around Friday, that eases up. And then also Venus sextiles your ruler Jupiter. So by Friday, you'll probably be feeling like, not a major thing, but definitely easing with that Saturn, but this kind of minor energy, you're just feeling a bit like connecting, a bit sensual, maybe enjoying some things. It could be an opportunity to enjoy some things in your life in the value sense, the material sense, and enjoy relationships as well, perhaps. And maybe just an opening to connect with your routine, your work, maybe just a bit of flow there. And it's all a reminder, too, that for the past year, the emphasis really has been for your long-term productive goals, whether it's your career or achievement or success in your life. That's really the emphasis with your ruler in that 10th. So developing that area, there's just an opening for that around Friday. And that's about the same time the sun does shift into your 10th house of that same stuff, your productive life. So this is giving you now a prelude to what the new moon will be next week. Next week you have a new beginning with your career or your productive life or whatever it is. So your focus is going to shift towards that more than likely this weekend. And as your focus shifts on the productive, it's going to give you energy, life force to think in these terms, to focus on these terms, and again, help lay any foundations for next week's new moon there. Now, Saturday of this weekend, Mercury conjoins Mars in the 9th, again, activating that there's so much to learn about this higher stuff, big picture stuff, whatever you're motivated towards here as well with. And then probably with this conjunction, though, around Saturday, quite direct with your relationships, motivated there, maybe doing active things with your partner or whatever, but just direct in your relationships nonetheless. And also, too, probably, again, motivated towards the career and productive stuff, since Mercury does rule your 10th. And you could be learning more about what you enjoy in life, what you're passionate about, and what it means to get some of this reflective energy, receptive energy as well, since Mars rules both your 5th and your 12th. So then the weekends, on Sunday going into Monday of next week, Venus trines up to Uranus. Again, a positive energy there pertaining to your routine, your work, friends, group-related stuff. Really good week for that kind of stuff. But whatever it is, just feeling a bit spontaneous in you, maybe mixing things up with your home life, maybe feeling free with your health, in fact. And again, and it's all relating to this expansion of your horizons. You know, thinking big, tapping into a bit of that adventurousness for life, spirit for life is just fantastic at this time. All right, Sagittarius, so have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Capricorn, welcome to your weekly forecast. So all this energy in your 8th house, this is the deep house. It's the house of getting vulnerable with ourselves and with life and, really diving deep. So if you've been doing that work, fantastic. I think there will still be a general theme regarding that area this week. specifically with these aspects. Firstly, with Venus trining up to Saturn, I think around Tuesday, you'll likely have a good stabilizing force here, probably feeling quite grounded with, what really matters in life, and this openness and vulnerability and trust with yourself, with life, with your relationships. And also too, for some of you, all this 8th house stuff could be pertaining to shared resources or others, something like resources involving someone else, whether it's inheritance or loans or debts or things like that. But whatever it is, you get that stabilizing force with that as well on Tuesday. And you're likely feeling quite enjoyable, like you can connect. There's a good connective energy about it. Your ruler trining up to Venus. You're probably also feeling quite self-expressive and maybe even achievement-oriented and productive coming into the week, which is great. But then Wednesday, Thursday, your ruler then squares up to the sun. And so just remembering to be patient with this stuff, right? I mean, I'm not one to tell Capricorn to be patient, but remembering this whole 8th house stuff takes time. All right, it takes time to strip away all these layers, all these fears, to do all this transformation that's taking place with you with this 8th house. So just remembering that long-term patient approach to that can be a great way of working with this square, and being balanced too with enjoyments. Sometimes with this, when the ruler squares the sun, we could be harsh or wanting to express ourselves, or do things that are just maybe imbalanced. So just remembering the balance, remembering that stability, equilibrium with the self-expression, with whatever it is you're focused on. And I think that can be a great way of working with that square. And then it starts to ease up by about Friday, just Wednesday, Thursday time. And I don't think it's anything major, but that energy sort of eases up by about Friday. And then Friday, Venus then sextiles Jupiter. So another positive energy there for the 8th. So by Friday time, you're probably remembering that it's just such a good time for you to be expanding your horizons. A lot of you could be involved with foreign things, travel for some of you, maybe higher learning, philosophy. This adventurous stuff in life is just great. And so by about Friday, you start to see this sort of openness here about this. It's just a reminder that it's great to be expanding your horizons while still connecting to what matters most. And again, probably feeling quite expressive and maybe hopeful as well in regards to your career and productive life, which is a good energy to work with if you do feel that. Now, around that same time on Friday, the sun then shifts into your 9th house. So this is coming out of more of watery stuff. Like I said, there's still a lot of planets in your 8th, so it's still very watery, deep and all this. But the sun leaving here will likely start to help you focus and see things maybe not so deeply. And there's a transformation occurring too when the sun comes from the 8th into the 9th. So whatever this is around Friday, Saturday time, starting to transform your perspective, your view. Again, seeing more about the potentials and the adventurousness of life and the spirit for life. And then how to integrate, what you've learned this last cycle pertaining to the depth and what matters most in life as we finish up this cycle, because we'll be in the ending phase of that cycle this weekend. So again, good for reflection, meditation, internal guidance pertaining to what matters most in your life. And then next week, you're going to find that there's this new beginning with the 9th house. Some of you could be starting something new involving travel or higher learning or philosophy or astrology or spirituality. It's more expansive stuff. So you get a prelude to that this week, and it's good to sort of just be aware of that transformation that's occurring. It's kind of like you're still in the cocoon, but a part of you is coming out of that cocoon, seeing the big picture like the butterfly does, looking down, flying, being free. And so, that kind of thing, that shift there could be a really good thing to be aware of in terms of what's setting the foundations for what this new beginning is around the corner. So Saturday, Mercury does go over Mars in the 8th house, so you could be very direct, I think, with your philosophy. Again, there's maybe motivation and drive here to think big, see potentials, and probably some motivation and drive towards your routine as well. Good to put energy into your routine or your work during that time, and you'll likely be learning about your home life, which maybe you've been reflecting on these past couple of weeks or whatever, but learning something about your home life and also about your future aspirations and maybe even friends and group activities. This whole past couple of years, really has been the theme of you establishing your future aspirations, your hopes and wishes for the future, and even establishing your sense of community, friends, and network circles. Even though stuff is taking time, it's really good to just develop this area and ground it for the long term. And so with this Mercury-Mars conjunction, there could be some learning about that as well. All right, and then the weekends, mostly going into Monday, Sunday, Monday time, Venus does trine up to Uranus. So again, more positive energy here. You're probably feeling quite free, spontaneous with your self-expression, maybe even with your career and work going into Monday, which is nice, just a bit freshness, free there. And maybe involving what Uranus has been helping you do, which is find more freedom with learning and practical stuff and even communication in your life. And, that connectivity there of connecting the practical, learning, willing to learn, curiosity can also be very freeing as well. All right, so Capricorn, have a fantastic week. I hope this video was helpful for you. And I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Aquarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So as a recap, lots of energy in your 7th house of relationships. I think you've been learning a lot about this area. Mercury's still in his shadow, finishing up that transit. Mars is here. You're likely very direct with your relationships. And Venus is here, seeing the value of them and enjoying and connecting with them. So you do have some positive support coming into the week with Venus trining up to your ruler Saturn. You could be feeling quite connected with those relationships. And there's just a bit of harmony and synergy, I think, taking place. And maybe even too some positive energy around Tuesday in terms of your career, your productive life, how this really has been the theme for the past couple of years of taking things slow and steady when it comes to your achievements and career and successes in life. But maybe you're feeling good about it. Maybe you're feeling quite stable about it. You may even, it is a good week too for things pertaining to your home and your health. And you could be feeling stabilized there on Tuesday. And also even too with your adventurous spirit, just feeling like things like you're willing to see the big picture. But with that being said, once we get into about Wednesday, Thursday, about midweek, the sun does square up to Saturn. So this is, it's kind of like we need to remember that what we saw early in the week in terms of that stability, kind of remember that Wednesday, Thursday, that things take time. The career, the productive life, and even relationships. If there's anything that's limiting or restricting you in terms of relationships or your perspective of them, just remembering that patience, long term, it's about the long term here. And I think with that perspective, it helps you get on the right side of that sort of transit there. And even too, just staying balanced with your self-expression. Since Saturn's your ruler, when the sun squares a ruler, it's good to stay balanced and moderate with your self-expression, and also too with anything you enjoy or find passionate in life. Just staying responsible and grounded with those things. So then once we get into about Friday, that Saturn energy eases up. In fact, probably by late Thursday, that'll start to ease up. But by Friday, Venus, then another easy aspect with Jupiter as a reminder that it's such a great time to be connecting to the deeper dimensions of life, to what matters most in life. Getting vulnerable with life comes very easy when Jupiter's in the 8th. So you got some good support with that around Thursday. And also too, maybe again with your home, your health, maybe with relationships, and just feeling a bit adventurous, open-minded in general around that Friday time. And this is the same time that the sun starts to go into your 8th house. So it's giving you a sort of prelude to what the new moon next week will be about, which is pertaining to the deeper dimensions, the 8th house. So there will be this new beginning about, seeing what matters most to you and what it means to be vulnerable, open, to have trust with life, with yourself, with relationships, to break some patterns. It's a very empowering house. And for about the next couple months, you'll have plenty of opportunity here to transform, to dive deep. Jupiter's already been helping you see the positive energy with this. We'll have a new moon in about a month from now, conjunct Jupiter in a very close conjunction. So that'll be another step in this whole area of you really transforming. So whatever it is that your focus is shifting towards this weekend, it could give you a prelude to what the new beginnings are around the corner there. Now, Saturday, Mercury does go over Mars in that 7th house. So again, activating relationships. But in this case, maybe you'll be learning a bit about your career or your productive life, or thinking about that in some sense. Maybe a new beginning there on some level for some of you. And also quite motivated towards, again, that self-expression. Probably this weekend. So really good for having some fun, expressing yourself, maybe tapping into a bit of that creative energy. Could be very motivating. And again, I think it's all in this whole realm of one-to-one relationships or contracts or business or legal matters, whatever the 7th house is for you at this time. And then the week does end on Sunday with Venus trining up to Uranus going into Monday, Monday time. Feeling again that freedom, and the freedom here could be pertaining to your values, resources, finances, something like that, just lifting you up, freeing you up there. You're thinking outside the box. You're seeing what Uranus has been helping you learn these past 8 years about how finances should be a source of freedom for you, but not just finances, your sense of self-worth, tapping into your natural gifts and abilities and who you are on that deeper level in terms of you being your true self. And that's a very supportive energy with those relationships going into the next week, into your home, your health, maybe feeling a bit free there. And then also too with this spirited energy for life, seeing the big picture. All right, Aquarius, I hope that gave you a good snapshot for the week. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please comment down below, and I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. All right, Pisces, welcome to your weekly forecast. So there is all this concentration of energy in your 6th house at this time, which is the house of your work or your routine or whatever it is you do on a daily level. And so coming into the week, there's some supportive energy on Tuesday with Saturn trining Venus in the 6th. Could be feeling quite stable, grounded with the work and routine. But also too, I think with communication, your mind is just quite stable and grounded. And just, I think, seeing what matters most in life, more maybe unconscious or rather subconscious way of just connecting to what matters most and seeing the deep truth of life. All that is very stabilizing for you. And those are areas, your mind, your communication, learning, is very good aspects with Venus this week. And again, also to connect on that deeper level. Very good aspects for that in general. But yeah, Tuesday certainly grounding, stabilizing that. And I think it's all pertaining to this work routine, whatever it is that has been the emphasis for you. In terms of that Saturn, though, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturn does square up to the Sun, who rules this area. So midweek, remembering that stuff about stability here with your work and routine, because there might be a bit of limitation, a bit of challenge perhaps. But again, we want to challenge ourselves. So what can you do Wednesday, Thursday to be patient, long-term, or challenge yourself with? Involving your work and routine so that it is long-term. Because Saturn reminds us that things take time, and that if we really want to have a stabilized, in this case, work and routine, it takes time, it takes work, it takes patience. And if you're willing to do that, it's fantastic, because then it gets you on the right side of this aspect. Then by about Friday, though, that Saturn square does lift off a little bit, and Venus then sextiles up to Jupiter. So again, more positive support there. This is on a minor note, but just maybe feeling a bit open with the day-to-day. Again, maybe with communication and learning. Could be a great day for learning, actually. And sharing your philosophy or outlook on life. And again, connecting to what matters most. And this is also a reminder that this whole year, this past year, like 12 months, has been about relationships, relationship opportunities, you know, but just relationships in general. So just really good to be connecting there. Existing relationships, new relationships, just this bit of opening there for that area. And this is about the same time that the sun starts to shift into your 7th house of relationships. So, you know, next week, you're going to have a new moon in the house of relationships. And so this weekend, you could start to see this, I don't know, you're starting to shift your focus here. Maybe focus more on relationships. And when I say relationships, I just mean other. So it could be the relationships in your life, but it could be just your interactions. And for some of you too, it could be involving contracts or partnerships, things like that, business perhaps. But whatever the shift of focus is there pertaining to other, gives you a prelude, I think, to what the new beginnings are around the corner for you next week. And just remembering too, this week, it is an ending phase of this cycle. So it is good to go within and reflect in this balsamic phase, and to clear really what you've learned or developed involving your work or routine these past 3 to 4 weeks, depending on when you're watching this video. But at the same time, there's more unfoldment, more development with the routine that weekend. Mercury goes over Mars. So there is likely a lot of this sort of learning about it, and then also drive and motivation getting activated with it, which is good. And I think you'll probably be very driven about those relationships as well, very direct there, or you're seeing more about what your personal needs are in your relationships. And also too with your home and your health, maybe motivated in those areas. And you could even be learning about what you value in life in general. And learning about the bigger picture stuff, you know, seeing the open horizons. That, yeah, things, you know, especially with that Saturn there, things take time with the big picture, but you're building it and slow and steady. It's being implemented in time. So it's involving a lot of key areas with this conjunction, but fundamentally I think it is this sort of new shaping up with, on one hand, relationship perspective, and then on the other hand, what you value and what you're motivated towards in regards to your work and your routine and what you've been learning, and now implementing what you've been learning about your work routine. Or it could even be your personal growth, personal development. Self-improvement is just fantastic with all this 6th house emphasis. All right, and then the week does end with Venus trining up to Saturn Sunday, going into Monday of next week, trining up to Uranus, Venus trine Uranus. And yeah, this is a reminder that the past 8 years has been about you tapping into your true self. You know, you being who you are, Uranus in the 1st house. And so a great weekend for that, Sunday, Monday time. And again, good positive support for mixing some things up with your routine and your day-to-day activities. All right, Pisces, so have a fantastic week. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast.